I still remember the exact moment my world shattered. It wasn't when I caught Sarah texting him from our bed. It wasn't even when I found the hotel receipts she'd carelessly left in her coat pocket. No, it was when she looked me dead in the eyes, her face twisted with a cruelty I'd never seen before, and said those words that would echo in my mind for months to come. Face it, Alex. Without me, you'll be alone forever. The rain pounded against the windows of my apartment as she spat those words at me. 3 years together, and this was how it ended. Not with the gentle fading of love, but with a knife to my heart, twisted by the person who knew exactly where to cut deepest. I'd always struggled with abandonment issues. Sarah knew this. She knew about my childhood, about how my father walked out when I was 7, about how my mother cycled through relationships that never lasted. Sarah knew my deepest fear was ending up alone, and she weaponized it with surgical precision. That night, after she slammed the door behind her, taking the last of her things and leaving behind only the lingering scent of her perfume and the hollow echo of her words, I crumpled to the floor. The pain was physical, a crushing weight on my chest that made it hard to breathe. I lay there, curled into myself, until the first light of dawn crept through the blinds. You'll be alone forever. The words played on repeat in my head as I dragged myself to work the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. I became a ghost, moving through life on autopilot. My coworkers noticed. My few friends noticed. But I couldn't bring myself to tell them what had happened. Couldn't bear to admit that Sarah had left me for someone else. Someone better. Someone worthy of love. You okay, man? My colleague James asked one day, catching me staring blankly at my computer screen for what must have been 30 minutes. Yeah, just tired, I lied, forcing a smile that felt like it might crack my face. 2 weeks after Sarah left, I hit rock bottom. I'd spent the day scrolling through her social media, torturing myself with photos of her and her new boyfriend. A successful architect with perfect teeth and the kind of confidence I'd always wished I had. There they were, arms wrapped around each other on a beach somewhere, looking like a goddamn magazine spread. The caption read, "Finally found my forever." Forever. There was that word again. That night, I drank myself into oblivion, alone in my apartment, surrounded by memories of her. I drunk texted her at 2 a.m., a pathetic, rambling message begging her to come back, telling her I couldn't live without her. I woke up the next morning to a single blue check mark. Read no reply. The shame that washed over me was almost worse than the hangover. I deleted the message from my phone, but I couldn't delete the memory of sending it. I'd given her exactly what she wanted. Proof that I was falling apart without her, that I was exactly the pathetic, needy person she'd accused me of being. That morning, staring at my haggard reflection in the bathroom mirror, something inside me shifted. The hurt was still there, but beneath it I felt something new stirring. Anger. Not the hot, violent kind that makes you want to punch walls, but something colder and steadier. Sarah thought she knew me. She thought she could predict my future. Alone forever. But what if she was wrong? What if I could prove her wrong? The idea didn't come to me all at once. It grew slowly, taking root in the fertile soil of my pain and humiliation. At first it was just about survival, about dragging myself through each day. I started small. I deleted her number from my phone. I unfollowed her on all social media. I boxed up everything that reminded me of her and put it in storage. Then I focused on myself. I joined a gym, not because I wanted to get revenge hot, like some cliche, but because I needed somewhere to channel my restless energy. I started seeing a therapist, Dr. Levine, a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who didn't let me wallow in self-pity. She said I'll be alone forever. I told Dr. Wanishurnam, Tawananandawanawanesh, Levine during one session, the words still painful to say out loud. And you believed her? Doctor? Levine raised an eyebrow. I don't know. Maybe. Alex, do you think Sarah is psychic? Does she have some special ability to see the future? I almost smiled at the absurdity of the question. No. Then why give her statement any power? It's not a prophecy. It's just a cruel thing an angry person said to hurt you. Those words were a lifeline. I clung to them in my darkest moments, repeating them to myself when doubts crept in. Sarah wasn't psychic. She couldn't see my future. Only I could determine what my life would be. 3 months after our breakup, I ran into Kevin, a mutual friend who'd ended up in Sarah's custody after we split. We awkwardly bumped into each other at a coffee shop, and after some hesitation, decided to catch up. How is she? I asked, hating myself for asking, but unable to help it. Kevin's expression was careful. She's Sarah. You know how she is. I did know. I knew her better than anyone, or at least I thought I had. She and Michael are pretty serious. Kevin continued, watching my face. They're talking about moving in together. Michael, the architect, the perfect guy who'd swept in and taken my place, like I was nothing more than an inconvenient placeholder. Good for them, I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounded. Kevin looked relieved. I thought you'd be, well, you know, devastated. I was, for a while. I took a sip of my coffee. Not anymore. That wasn't entirely true. I was still hurt, still angry. But something else was taking shape in my mind. A plan. Not for winning Sarah back, but for proving her wrong in the most spectacular way possible. Actually, I said to Kevin, I've been seeing someone too. The lie slipped out before I could stop it. Kevin's eyebrows shot up. Really? That's great, man. Who is she? Panic fluttered in my chest. Still pretty new. I'm keeping it quiet for now. Kevin nodded, clearly curious but polite enough not to press. Well, I'm happy for you. Sarah thought. Well, never mind. Sarah thought what? I pressed, even though I knew the answer. Kevin looked uncomfortable. Just that you'd have a hard time moving on. That's all. That you'll be alone forever. The unspoken words hung in the air between us. After coffee with Kevin, I walked home in a daze, my mind racing. I knew word would get back to Sarah that I was supposedly dating someone new. That hadn't been my plan when I lied to Kevin. But now that I'd set it in motion, I couldn't help but feel a glimmer of satisfaction. What if I could actually make Sarah believe I'd not only moved on, but was thriving without her? What if I could show her that far from being alone forever, I'd found someone better? Someone who loved me in all the ways she never had? The seed of my revenge began to take root. But I needed more than just vague rumors of a new girlfriend. I needed something concrete, something undeniable. An idea started to form. Audacious, complicated, and possibly insane. What if I could make Sarah believe I was engaged? What if I could invite her to my wedding, make her witness my happiness with someone else? The ultimate proof that her cruel prediction had been wrong. At first, I dismissed the idea as ridiculous. I couldn't fake an entire relationship, let alone an engagement and wedding. But the thought kept returning, growing more detailed each time. I'd need someone to play the role of my fiancé. I'd need to create evidence of our relationship. Photos, social media posts, witnesses who could vouch for us. I'd need to make it convincing enough that Sarah would never suspect it wasn't real. Was I really considering this? Was I really plotting an elaborate fake wedding just to prove my ex wrong? Yes. Yes, I was. The realization should have scared me. Instead, it filled me with a strange, cold determination. This wouldn't be a hot-headed act of revenge. This would be a carefully orchestrated performance designed to show Sarah exactly what she'd lost. And more importantly, to prove to myself that I wasn't defined by her rejection. The question was, who could possibly help me pull this off? The answer came to me a week later at a work function. Emma Chen, one of the graphic designers at our marketing firm, was standing by the bar looking as uncomfortable as I felt. Emma and I had a friendly professional relationship, but weren't particularly close. I knew she was talented, smart, and according to office gossip, recently broke up with her long-term boyfriend. After a couple of drinks, I found myself next to her, both of us hiding from the forced corporate socialization. Not your scene either? I asked. Emma smiled, relief evident in her expression at having someone to talk to. God, no. I'm only here because Janice from HR basically threatened me. We fell into easy conversation, and for the first time in months, I found myself genuinely enjoying someone's company. Emma was funny in a dry, sardonic way that matched my own sense of humor. She was also, I couldn't help noticing, objectively beautiful. The kind of elegant, classic beauty that Sarah with her trendy style had always lacked. So what's your tragic backstory? Emma asked after we'd migrated to a quieter corner of the bar. Everyone at this company has one. What makes you think I have a tragic backstory? The way you flinch every time someone mentions couples tickets for the holiday party. Bad breakup? I almost denied it, then stopped myself. The worst. You? Oh, classic tale. 6 years together, came home early from a business trip, found him with my best friend. She said it casually, but I caught the flicker of pain in her eyes. That's awful. It was 6 months ago. I'm mostly over it. She took a sip of her drink. Mostly, an idea began to form in my mind. Was it possible? Could Emma be the answer to my revenge plan? No, I told myself firmly. That would be manipulative and wrong. Emma was a real person with her own feelings and her own pain. Using her as a pawn in my revenge fantasy would make me no better than Sarah. But as the evening wore on and we continued talking, the idea wouldn't leave me alone. What if it wasn't just using her? What if we could help each other? By the end of the night, we'd exchanged phone numbers and made plans to grab coffee the following week. Just as friends, I told myself. Just two people who understood each other's pain. But the seed had been planted. Over the next few weeks, Emma and I grew closer. We met for coffee, then dinner, then weekend outings that weren't quite dates but felt like something more than casual friendship. We talked about our exes, our childhoods, our dreams for the future. I learned that she wanted to start her own design firm someday, that she loved old black and white movies, that she was terrified of pigeons but fascinated by crows. I found myself genuinely looking forward to our time together. She made me laugh in a way I hadn't in months. The pain of Sarah's betrayal began to recede, not gone but no longer dominating my every waking thought. One night, after too much wine at her apartment, I told her everything. About finding the hotel receipts, about Sarah's cruel parting words, about my shameful drunk texts, about running into Kevin and lying about having a new girlfriend. "You'll be alone forever," Emma repeated, her voice hollow with disbelief. "She actually said that to you?" I nodded, embarrassed to feel tears pricking at my eyes. "What a fucking bitch," Emma said with such vehemence that I burst out laughing despite myself. "Yeah, she really is." Emma's expression softened. "You know she's wrong, right? You're not going to be alone forever." "I know," I said, but my voice lacked conviction. "Alex," she leaned forward, her dark eyes intense. "You're kind, you're funny, you're smarter than most of the people at our company put together. Any woman would be lucky to have you. Any woman except Sarah, apparently. Sarah's an idiot who doesn't deserve you." Emma refilled our wine glasses. "So this lie you told Kevin, what are you going to do when he asks to meet your new girlfriend?" I groaned. I didn't think that far ahead. "Pretend we broke up, I guess." "Or," Emma said, a mischievous glint in her eye, "you could introduce him to your new girlfriend." I stared at her. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I could pretend to be your girlfriend. Just for a little while, just to save face." My heart raced. "You'd do that for me?" "Sure, why not? It might even be fun. Plus, it would really piss off my ex if he thought I'd moved on so quickly." She grinned, but there was something in her expression I couldn't quite read. That's incredibly generous, but I couldn't ask you to do that." "You didn't ask," I offered. She took a sip of her wine. "Think about it. No pressure either way." I did think about it. I thought about it all night after I left her apartment. I thought about it during my therapy session with Dr. Levine the next day. This friend offered to pretend to be my girlfriend. I explained to Dr. Levine, just to save face with mutual friends. Dr. Levine's expression was carefully neutral. "And is that all it would be? Saving face?" I hesitated. "What do you mean? I mean, what's the real motivation here, Alex? Is it about protecting your pride, or is it about proving something to your ex?" I couldn't lie to Dr. Levine. Both, I guess. And maybe proving something to myself too. That you won't be alone forever? Yes, Dr. Erforin. Levine was quiet for a moment. "I understand the impulse, Alex, but fake relationships have a way of creating real confusion. Before you go down this road, make sure you're clear about your intentions, both with yourself and with your friend." I nodded, taking her words to heart. But even as I promised to be careful, the plan was taking shape in my mind, becoming more detailed, more real. 2 days later, Emma and I met for dinner at a small Italian restaurant. I'd been rehearsing what to say, how to explain what I was thinking without sounding like a complete sociopath. "I've been thinking about your offer," I began after we'd ordered. "To pretend to be your girlfriend?" Emma smiled. "Changed your mind?" "Actually, I was thinking of something bigger." Emma raised an eyebrow. "Bigger?" I took a deep breath. "What if we didn't just pretend to date? What if we pretended to be engaged?" Emma's fork clattered against her plate. "Engaged? Are you serious?" "Hear me out," I said, heat rising to my face. "Sarah told me I'd be alone forever. She's convinced I can't function without her, that no one else could ever love me. What if I could prove her wrong in the most definitive way possible? By getting fake engaged to me?" Emma's expression was unreadable. "It sounds crazy when you say it out loud." "It sounds crazy when you say it out loud too," Emma pointed out. "Alex, that's a lot. Pretending to be your girlfriend for a dinner or two is one thing. But an engagement? I know. Forget I mentioned it. I looked down at my plate, embarrassed. It was a stupid idea. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Tell me exactly what you're envisioning here. I hesitated, then decided to lay it all out. We pretend to be engaged. We post about it on social media, tell our friends. We plan a wedding, not a real one, obviously, just enough to make it look real. And then we invite Sarah and Michael. To your fake wedding? To our fake wedding, yes. Emma took a long sip of her wine. And then what? We don't actually go through with it, right? Of course not. We'd call it off before that. But Sarah would see that I'm not alone, that I found someone who wants to marry me. She'd see that she was wrong. Emma studied me, her expression thoughtful. This is about more than just proving your ex wrong, isn't it? This is about reclaiming your sense of self-worth. I was startled by her insight. Yes, I suppose it is. I get it, you know. After David left me for Jessica, I felt worthless. Like I wasn't enough. Like there was something fundamentally unlovable about me. Emma twirled pasta around her fork. It messes with your head. Exactly. I felt a surge of relief that she understood. But Alex, think about what you're asking. We'd have to convince everyone. Our friends, our families, our co-workers. We'd have to live this lie for months. I know it's a lot to ask. Too much, probably. Emma was quiet again, thinking. What about your therapist? What did she say about this idea? She advised caution, I admitted. She worried about boundaries getting blurred. Smart woman. Look, let's forget I brought it up. I'll do it, Emma said suddenly, decisively. I stared at her. What? I'll do it. She set down her glass. I'll be your fake fiancé. Emma, you don't have to. I want to. There was a fierce glint in her eye. Your ex was cruel to you. My ex humiliated me. Maybe this is what we both need. A way to take back control of our stories. My heart pounded in my chest. Are you sure? No. She laughed, but I'm in anyway. On one condition. Name it. We set clear boundaries. We're friends playing roles, nothing more. No real feelings, no confusion. And we set an end date. Once Sarah sees us happily engaged, once we've made our point, we end the charade. Agreed? Agreed. I held out my hand across the table, and she shook it firmly. So, Emma said, a smile playing at the corner of her lips. When did we start dating in this fictional universe of ours? 3 months ago? That's how long it's been since Sarah and I broke up. 3 months to engagement? That's fast. When you know, I quipped, and we both laughed. Okay, we met at work, started dating 3 months ago, and you just proposed. When? Last weekend? A simple private proposal. Nothing flashy. You should know I would have said no to a public proposal, even a fake one. Emma wrinkled her nose. I hate public proposals. Noted. No public displays for the real thing. The words hung in the air between us, and I felt my face flush. I mean, not that there would be a real thing. For us. Just in general. Emma smiled, graciously ignoring my awkwardness. We need a ring. Nothing expensive, just something convincing. I'll take care of it. And we need a backstory. How we fell in love. Why it happened so quickly. We can work on that together. And we need to tell people gradually. Not all at once. That would look suspicious. I nodded, impressed by her strategic thinking. We start with close friends, then widen the circle? Exactly. As we continued planning, a strange sense of excitement built within me. What had started as a vague idea for revenge was becoming a real plan. Elaborate, perhaps slightly unhinged, but doable. More than that, I realized I was actually looking forward to it. Not just the eventual payoff of seeing Sarah's face when she received our invitation, but the process itself. Working with Emma, creating this fiction together, it felt like the first positive thing I'd thrown myself into since the breakup. One more thing, Emma said as we were leaving the restaurant. For this to work, we need to be comfortable with each other physically. Nothing inappropriate, she added quickly, but we should look like a couple. Casual touching, the way we look at each other, those details matter. You're right. The thought made me slightly nervous, but not in an unpleasant way. We should practice. Starting now, Emma said, and slipped her hand into mine as we walked to the parking lot. Her hand was warm and fit perfectly in mine. It felt strange but not wrong. Like learning the steps to a dance I'd forgotten. See you tomorrow, fiancé, she said with a wink as we parted ways at her car. See you tomorrow, I echoed, watching her drive away, wondering what exactly I'd gotten myself into. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of preparation. We created a backstory. We'd been drawn to each other at work but kept things professional until after my breakup with Sarah. Then reconnecting at a company happy hour, true, we discovered a deep connection, partially true. Our relationship had progressed quickly because, unlike our previous relationships, this one felt right from the start. I bought a ring, a vintage-style emerald surrounded by small diamonds that Emma had pointed out during our casual browsing at an antique store. It wasn't cheap, but it was important that the ring be convincing. When I presented it to her, in private at her apartment, her eyes widened. Alex, it's beautiful, but it's too much. This must have cost a fortune. It's an investment in our cover story, I insisted. Besides, you can give it back once we're done. What will you do with it then? I hadn't thought that far ahead. I don't know. Save it for later. Emma slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, gleaming in the soft light of her apartment. For a moment, looking at it there, I felt a strange tightness in my chest. How does it feel? I asked. Weird, she admitted. But not bad weird. Just Nuri Wanuwash. We decided to start telling people the following week. First on our list was Kevin, my gateway to Sarah's social circle. We invited him to dinner at a casual restaurant we knew Sarah and Michael would never frequent. I was a bundle of nerves all day, wondering if Kevin would see through our act immediately. Relax, Emma told me as we waited for Kevin to arrive. We've got this. Just follow my lead. Emma, I was discovering, was a natural performer. She'd been subtly changing her behavior around me at work. Lingering touches on my arm, private smiles across the conference room, bringing me coffee in the morning. Small things that, taken together, painted a picture of two people falling in love. When Kevin arrived, Emma stood to greet him, her left hand conspicuously jewelry-free. We'd decided to reveal the engagement, partway through dinner for maximum impact. Kevin, this is Emma. I introduced them. Emma, this is my old friend Kevin, the mysterious new girlfriend, Kevin said with a grin, shaking Emma's hand. Alex has been keeping you under wraps. We wanted to take things slow at first, Emma said, sliding into the practice story we developed, especially with both of us working together. But then, she looked at me with such convincing adoration that I almost believed it myself. Then we couldn't hide it anymore. I finished, taking her hand across the table. Kevin's eyes widened slightly. Wow, you guys seem really into each other. We are, Emma said simply. Dinner progressed smoothly. Emma was charming, drawing Kevin out about his job, his hobbies, his recent trip to Costa Rica. I watched in admiration as she built rapport with him, making him feel comfortable and important. By the time our entrees arrived, Kevin was completely at ease, laughing at Emma's jokes, seemingly convinced of our relationship. As planned, Emma excused herself to use the restroom halfway through the meal, giving me a brief moment alone with Kevin. She's amazing, man, Kevin said as soon as Emma was out of earshot. I get why you kept her secret. Sarah's going to flip when she finds out. Has she asked about me? I couldn't help myself. Kevin hesitated. A few times, casual questions about how you're doing. And what did you tell her? That you seemed fine. Kevin eyed me curiously. I didn't mention Emma. Wanted to make sure she was real first, you know? I forced a laugh. Can't blame you for that. So it's serious between you two? I took a deep breath. Actually, there's something I need to tell you, but you have to promise to keep it quiet for now. Kevin leaned forward, intrigued. What's up? I asked Emma to marry me last weekend. She said yes. Kevin's jaw dropped. You're engaged? After 3 months? When you know, I said, repeating the line Emma and I had practiced. Holy shit, Alex. Kevin looked genuinely shocked. Wow. At that moment, Emma returned, now wearing the emerald ring. She slid back into her seat beside me, placing her left hand deliberately on the table. Kevin's eyes immediately locked onto the ring. Is that? Emma smiled, glancing at me with perfect affection. Alex has something to tell you. I already did, I admitted. Hope that's okay. Of course it is. Emma squeezed my hand. We're not making a big announcement yet, Kevin. But yes, we're engaged. Kevin stared at us, then broke into a wide smile. That's incredible. Congratulations. He flagged down our waiter. We need champagne over here. These two just got engaged. I felt a moment of panic. This public declaration wasn't part of our plan, but Emma squeezed my hand reassuringly under the table. Within minutes, we were holding champagne flutes, accepting congratulations from our waiter in nearby tables. To Alex and Emma, Kevin toasted, raising his glass. May you have a lifetime of happiness together. Emma and I clinked glasses, our eyes meeting over the rims. There was a spark of mischief in her gaze, but also something softer, something that made my heart skip a beat. After dinner, as we walked Kevin to his car, he pulled me into a tight hug. "I'm so happy for you, man," he said. "After everything with Sarah. You deserve this." I felt a twinge of guilt at deceiving him. Kevin was a good guy who'd been caught in the middle of my breakup with Sarah, but I pushed the guilt aside, reminding myself of the end goal. "Thanks, Kev. That means a lot. So when's the wedding?" Emma and I exchanged glances. We discussed this but hadn't settled on a specific timeline. "We're thinking next spring," Emma improvised smoothly. "A smallish ceremony, but very special." "Will I make the cut?" Kevin joked. "Of course," I assured him. "Wouldn't be the same without you." As Kevin drove away, Emma and I stood in the parking lot, processing our first performance. "That went well," Emma said. "He bought it completely." "You were amazing," I told her honestly. "The way you handled the surprise champagne toast, I almost panicked." "Always say yes to free champagne," Emma grinned. "That's my life motto." I drove her home, both of us buzzing with the strange excitement of our successful deception. At her door, there was an awkward moment where neither of us seemed to know how to say goodnight. In a real relationship, this would be when we'd kiss. "Thanks for tonight," I said finally. "For all of this." "It was actually fun," Emma admitted, though I feel a little bad for Kevin. "He seems nice." "He is nice. That's why Sarah got custody of him in the breakup," Emma laughed. "Well, if our plan works, you'll get shared custody at least." "Good night, fake fiancé," I said softly. "Good night, fake fiancé," she replied, and before I realized what was happening, she leaned up and kissed me on the cheek. A small gesture, friendly and chaste, but it left my skin tingling long after she'd closed her apartment door. As predicted, Kevin wasted no time sharing the news. The next morning, I had a text from another mutual friend congratulating me. By afternoon, my phone was buzzing with messages from people I hadn't spoken to in months, all expressing surprise and happiness at my engagement. Emma and I had agreed to wait a week before making any social media announcements, but the news was spreading organically through our social circles. It was both exhilarating and terrifying to watch our fiction take on a life of its own. "Has Sarah reached out?" Emma asked during our lunch break. We'd taken to eating together at work, part of our couple performance. "Not yet," I admitted, trying to hide my disappointment. "But she must have heard by now." "She will," Emma assured me. "And when she does, we'll be ready." Our fake engagement quickly became a full-time job. We created a shared digital calendar for couple appearances, scheduled strategic social media posts, and even started a wedding planning binder that we could leave conspicuously open when certain friends visited. Emma threw herself into the role with impressive commitment, researching wedding venues, creating mood boards for colors and flowers, and even scheduling a just-for-fun dress shopping trip with some girlfriends who knew about our engagement. "Isn't that taking it a bit far?" I asked when she told me about the dress shopping plan. "It has to be convincing," Emma insisted. "If I don't act excited about wedding planning, people will get suspicious." "But an actual wedding dress?" "I'm not buying one," Emma rolled her eyes. "Just trying some on. Girls do that sometimes, even when they're not engaged." I had to admit, Emma's attention to detail was paying off. No one questioned our relationship or the speed of our engagement. People seemed to accept that we were simply one of those rare couples who knew immediately that they were meant to be together. Our performance extended to private moments too. We spent more and more time at each other's apartments, learning the minute details of each other's lives that a real couple would know. I learned that Emma slept with 2 pillows and always set 3 alarms in the morning. She discovered my habit of arranging books by color rather than author, and my inability to cook anything more complicated than pasta. 3 weeks after our dinner with Kevin, it finally happened. I was at home on a Saturday morning when my phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Is it true?" Just 3 words, but they sent my heart racing. I stared at the message for a long time, considering how to respond. Emma and I had discussed what to do when Sarah inevitably reached out. But now that the moment was here, I wasn't sure I was ready. I called Emma. She texted me, I said without preamble when she answered. "Sarah." Emma's voice was immediately alert. "What did she say?" "Is it true? That's it." "Perfect," Emma said, and I could hear the satisfaction in her voice. She's dying to know but trying to sound casual. "What do I say?" "Nothing yet." "Make her wait." "I'm coming over." 20 minutes later, Emma was at my door with coffee and bagels. She looked fresh and pretty in jeans and a simple t-shirt, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. I was struck again by how comfortable we'd become with each other in such a short time. Show me the text, she demanded, settling on my couch. I handed her my phone, and she studied the message, a small smile playing on her lips. Okay, here's what you're going to write. Yes, it's true. I'm engaged to Emma. We're very happy. That's it? That's it. Short, direct, no emotion. Like you've moved on completely and her opinion doesn't matter to you either way. I typed the message, my fingers hesitating over the send button. What if she doesn't respond? Then we know it bothered her. Emma took a bite of her bagel. Send it, Alex. I pressed send, then put my phone down like it might explode. Emma and I ate our bagels in silence, both watching my phone. After what felt like an eternity but was probably only 10 minutes, it buzzed. Congratulations. That was fast. Emma read the message over my shoulder. She's trying to sound breezy, but the "that was fast" is pure jealousy. She can't help herself. What now? Now you say thank you. When you know, then nothing else, no matter what she says. I sent the message, and this time Sarah's response came quickly. Hope she makes you happy. Emma scoffed. Translation: I don't think she can possibly make you happy because only I could do that. You're enjoying this, aren't you? I observed. Maybe a little, Emma admitted with a grin. It's like psychological chess. After Sarah's last text, we stuck to the plan, and I didn't respond. But something had changed. Sarah knew about my engagement now, and somehow that made it feel more real, more consequential. The next phase of our plan was to announce our engagement publicly. We took engagement photos at a local park. Nothing over the top, just some natural shots of us looking happy together. One of Emma's friends from college was a professional photographer who agreed to do it as an engagement gift. How should we pose? I asked awkwardly as we prepared for the shoot. Like we're in love, Emma said simply. She stepped closer to me, placed her hands on my chest, and looked up at me with such warmth in her eyes that for a moment I forgot we were pretending. The photos turned out beautifully. There was one in particular. Emma laughing at something I'd said, her head thrown back, my eyes fixed on her with what looked remarkably like adoration. That made my breath catch when I saw it. We looked like a couple deeply in love. We looked real. We posted the best photo on Instagram simultaneously with identical captions. She said yes. He asked, I said yes. S'engage, aren't you know? The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of likes, dozens of comments, all expressing joy and congratulations. Friends, colleagues, distant relatives. Everyone seemed genuinely happy for us. And then buried among the well wishes, I saw it. A single heart from Sarah's account. She hearted our engagement post. I told Emma in disbelief when I spotted it. Emma peered at my phone. Interesting strategy. She's trying to look supportive and evolved, like your engagement doesn't bother her at all. Does that mean our plan isn't working? On the contrary, she's working way too hard to appear unbothered. If she truly didn't care, she would have ignored the post entirely. I wasn't entirely convinced, but I trusted Emma's intuition about these things. She understood social dynamics in a way I never had. As summer turned to fall, Emma and I settled into a comfortable routine. We spent most weekends together, attending parties as a couple, having dinner with friends, or just hanging out at one of our apartments. We established favorite restaurants, inside jokes, little traditions that any real couple might have. Sometimes I had to remind myself that none of it was real, that the way Emma's eyes crinkled when she laughed at my jokes, the comfortable silence as we read books side by side on Sunday mornings, the way she always saved the last bite of dessert for me. None of it meant what it would in a real relationship. Doctor, Levine expressed concern during our therapy sessions. You're spending a lot of time maintaining this fiction, she observed. Doesn't it get exhausting? Sometimes, I admitted. But it's also nice in a way. Having someone to do things with, someone who knows the real me. Does Emma know the real you? Or just the version you're presenting as part of this charade? The question unsettled me. I think she knows the real me. We talk about everything, including your feelings about her. I shifted uncomfortably in my seat. There's nothing to discuss. We're friends playing roles. We established that from the beginning. Doctor, Levine's expression was skeptical. Boundaries have a way of blurring in situations like this, Alex. Be careful that you're not developing real feelings in a fake relationship. I'm not, I insisted, perhaps too quickly. But Doctor, Levine's warning stayed with me, especially as Emma and I moved into the next phase of our plan, wedding planning. We needed to make our wedding preparations visible enough that news would reach Sarah, but not so elaborate that we'd waste excessive time or money on an event that would never happen. We settled on a spring date at a local botanical garden, a venue that required only a modest deposit and had a reasonable cancellation policy. April 20th, Emma declared as we filled out the reservation form. Perfect for a garden wedding. How did you pick that date? I asked. It's a Saturday in spring. The weather should be nice. And it's far enough away to be believable, but close enough to keep the momentum going. I watched as Emma confidently filled out the form, handling the logistics with ease. She'd thrown herself into this project with remarkable commitment, and I couldn't help but admire her for it. You're really good at this, I observed. Wedding planning. All of it. The planning, the performing, the strategic thinking. It's impressive. Emma shrugged, but I could tell she was pleased. I've always been good at projects, and this is an interesting challenge. Thank you, I said suddenly, seriously, for doing all this. It's way beyond what I asked for when we started. Emma looked up, her expression softening. I'm not just doing it for you, you know. I'm getting something out of it too. What? For one thing, I haven't had to deal with awkward setups from well-meaning friends since we got engaged. For another, she hesitated. It feels good to be working towards something, even if that something is a fake wedding designed to make your ex jealous. I laughed. When you put it that way, it sounds kind of pathetic. Not pathetic, Emma corrected. Human. We all want to feel valued, especially after someone makes us feel worthless. Her words hit home, reminding me of the core pain that had started all this. Sarah's cruel assertion that I'd be alone forever, unlovable, unwanted. As our wedding planning progressed, we kept it visible, but not ostentatious. Emma created a wedding website with basic information and a link to a modest registry. We posted occasional updates on social media. Emma trying on a veil, but no dress photos, saving those for the big day. The two of us at a cake tasting, a close-up of our hands holding paint swatches for the color scheme. Each post was designed to look authentic, but also to twist the knife for Sarah. The caption on the cake tasting photo read, "Finding the perfect flavor for our perfect day. Yeah, Alex knows I can't make decisions without tasting all the options first. Kunaku Tornaitudio wedding planning, Shimmer's sweet life." It was a deliberate reference to Sarah's well-known indecisiveness, something that had driven me crazy during our relationship. Sarah would have recognized it immediately. 6 weeks after our engagement announcement, the moment we'd been working toward finally arrived. Sarah sent me a direct message on Instagram. Been seeing your wedding planning posts. It looks beautiful. I'm genuinely happy for you, Alex. I showed the message to Emma, who was cooking dinner at my apartment. She read it with a thoughtful expression. She's fishing for an invitation, Emma declared. You think so? Absolutely. She's making sure you know she's paying attention to your wedding plans, and she's emphasizing how genuinely happy she is, like she wants you to know she's totally fine with seeing you get married. So what do we do? Emma stirred the pasta sauce she was making, a smile playing at her lips. We invite her, of course. That was the plan all along, wasn't it? My heart raced at the thought. Is it too soon? It's perfect timing. 8 months between engagement and wedding is very reasonable. And inviting her now gives her plenty of time to obsess about it. Do we invite Michael too? The thought of Sarah's perfect architect boyfriend at my wedding made my stomach churn. Definitely, Emma said firmly. The invitation should be to both of them. It shows you're completely over her if you can welcome her new boyfriend too. I nodded, trusting Emma's judgment. How do we do it? Send a formal invitation? No, that's not personal enough. You should call her. Call her? The idea made my palms sweat. I haven't spoken to her directly since the breakup. Exactly. A phone call shows confidence. Text her first, ask if you can call to discuss something. I hesitated, suddenly unsure. This was what we'd been working toward for months, the culmination of our elaborate plan. Yet now that the moment was here, I felt a flicker of doubt. What if this whole thing is a mistake? I asked quietly. What if it's just petty and cruel? Emma turned from the stove, her expression serious. Do you want to back out? No. I don't know. I ran a hand through my hair. I just want to make sure we're doing this for the right reasons. Emma came to sit beside me at the kitchen counter. What are the right reasons, Alex? I thought about it. When we started this, it was all about revenge. About proving Sarah wrong when she said I'd be alone forever. And now I think maybe it's about proving something to myself. That I can move on. That I can be happy without her. Emma took my hand, the emerald ring glinting on her finger. And have you moved on, I mean? I looked at our intertwined hands, At this woman who had become so important to me over the past months. Yes, I realized with surprise. I think I have. Then call Sarah, Emma said gently. Not for revenge, not to hurt her, but to close that chapter properly on your terms. I took a deep breath and nodded. I'll text her now. I sent a simple message. Hi, Sarah. I'd like to talk to you about something. Is there a good time to call in the next few days? Sarah's reply came quickly. I'm free now if that works. I looked at Emma, panic rising in my chest. She says she's free now. Perfect, Emma said calmly. Go into the bedroom to make the call. I'll be right here if you need me. I took another deep breath, then dialed Sarah's number. She answered on the second ring. Alex. This is a surprise. Her voice was so familiar it made my chest ache, but not in the devastating way it once had. More like the phantom pain from an old injury that had mostly healed. Thanks for taking my call, I said, my voice steadier than I expected. How are you? I'm good. Busy with work. You know how it is. She paused. Congratulations on your engagement. Emma seems lovely from what I can see online. She is, I said, and the warmth in my voice wasn't feigned. She's amazing, actually. I'm happy for you, Sarah said, and to my surprise, she sounded sincere. You deserve that. I swallowed hard, unprepared for her kindness. Thank you. That means a lot. So, what did you want to talk about? I gathered my courage. Emma and I are getting married in April. At the Botanical Gardens. That sounds beautiful. We'd like you to come, I said simply. You and Michael both. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. You want me at your wedding? I do. The words came easily now. We were important to each other for a long time, Sarah. It would mean a lot to have you there to celebrate this new chapter. Another pause. Are you sure Emma is okay with that? It was her idea, actually. She's not the jealous type. She sounds remarkable. She is. I could hear Sarah taking a breath. Then yes, we'd love to come. Thank you for inviting us. We talked for a few more minutes, catching up politely on each other's lives. It was strange how normal it felt, talking to her without the weight of our past pressing down on every word. When I returned to the kitchen, Emma was serving the pasta she'd made, a questioning look on her face. She's coming, I said. They both are. And how do you feel about that? I considered the question carefully. Relieved, I think. And ... Peaceful somehow. Emma raised her wineglass in a toast. To peace. To peace. I echoed, clinking my glass against hers. As we ate dinner, discussing the details of the conversation with Sarah, I realized something had fundamentally shifted. The revenge that had driven our plan from the beginning no longer seemed important. What mattered now was the life I was building, the person I was becoming, and the woman sitting across from me who had helped make it all possible. But as our fake engagement approached the 6-month mark, complications began to arise. Family became the first major hurdle. Both sets of parents wanted to meet the person their child was planning to marry, and neither Emma nor I had told our families the truth about our arrangement. My mom wants to fly in for Thanksgiving to meet you, I told Emma one evening as we were working on wedding invitations. Real invitations for a wedding that would never happen. Emma looked up, her expression stricken. What did you tell her? That we'd love to have her. I winced at Emma's expression. I'm sorry, I panicked. She was so excited, and I couldn't think of a reason to say no that wouldn't sound suspicious. It's fine, Emma said, but her voice was tight. It's just, expanding the deception to include our families feels different somehow. I knew exactly what she meant. Lying to Sarah, to mutual friends, even to colleagues, that was one thing. But involving our families crossed a line we hadn't fully anticipated when we started. My parents are pushing to meet you too, Emma admitted. They can't understand why I haven't brought you home yet, especially since we're supposedly getting married in 5 months. We sat in silence, contemplating the growing complexity of our situation. We could tell them the truth, I suggested hesitantly. Emma shook her head. My mother would never understand. She'd think we were both insane. Mine too, I agreed. So what do? I guess we meet each other's parents. Emma twisted the engagement ring on her finger, a nervous habit she'd developed. Keep the charade going a little longer. And so we did. My mother came for Thanksgiving, and Emma played the role of devoted fiancée to perfection. They bonded over a shared love of old movies and baking, and by the end of the weekend, my mother was completely smitten with her future daughter-in-law. She's wonderful, Alex. My mother told me as I drove her to the airport. I can see why you fell in love with her so quickly. I felt a stab of guilt. She is wonderful. The way she looks at you. My mother's voice was wistful. That's real love, sweetheart. I'm so happy you found each other. The guilt intensified. Thanks, Mom. Your father would have loved her too, she added softly, and I gripped the steering wheel tighter, the mention of my late father adding another layer to my conflicted emotions. After Thanksgiving came Christmas, and with it, a visit to Emma's parents in Connecticut. I was unaccountably nervous as we drove to their colonial-style home in a quiet suburb outside Hartford. Your parents are going to hate me, I predicted gloomily as we pulled into their driveway. They're going to take one look at me and know I'm lying to them. They'll love you, Emma assured me. Just be yourself. That's who I'd want to be with if this were real. There was an awkward pause, both of us aware of the slip. Right, I said finally. Myself. Got it. Emma's parents, David and Margaret Chen, were warm and welcoming. David was a retired engineer with a dry sense of humor that reminded me of Emma, and Margaret was a pediatrician who asked thoughtful questions and actually listened to the answers. So Alex, David said over Christmas Eve dinner, Emma tells us you two met at work. Yes, sir. I'm in account management and Emma's in design. We collaborated on a few projects. And when did you know she was the one? Margaret asked, her eyes twinkling. I glanced at Emma, who was watching me curiously. We had our rehearsed answer, but suddenly I didn't want to give it. I wanted to tell them something true. There wasn't one big moment, I said slowly. It was all the little things. The way she always defends her ideas in meetings, even when she's outnumbered. How she brings coffee to our early creative sessions and remembers exactly how everyone takes it. The fact that she cries at dog food commercials but can watch the scariest horror movies without flinching. Emma was staring at me, her expression unreadable. But I think I knew for sure when we were working late one night on a pitch presentation. Everything that could go wrong was going wrong. The client had changed the brief last minute, our data was inconsistent, the design files were corrupted. Everyone was stressed and snapping at each other. And Emma just stepped in and calmly started fixing things. No drama, no complaining, just competence and kindness, exactly when it was needed most. The table was quiet. I realized I'd been talking for too long and felt heat rise to my face. Sorry, that was probably more than you were asking for. David cleared his throat, looking pleased. Not at all. That was a very thoughtful answer. It certainly was. Margaret agreed, glancing between Emma and me with a knowing smile. After dinner, as we helped clear the table, Emma pulled me aside in the kitchen. That story you told my parents, she whispered, about knowing I was the one. I'm sorry if it was too much, I said quickly. I got carried away. No, it was perfect. It was just, she hesitated. That was a real night, wasn't it? The Jensen media pitch back in September. I nodded, surprised she remembered. It was. You were amazing that night. Emma looked at me for a long moment, then leaned up and kissed me lightly on the lips. It was our first real kiss, and though it lasted only a second, it sent a shock through my system. What was that for? I asked when I found my voice. For giving my parents a story they'll repeat for years, she said with a small smile. And because I wanted to. Before I could respond, Margaret came into the kitchen with more dishes, and the moment passed. But something had shifted between us, a boundary crossed that we couldn't uncross. As December turned to January and our fake wedding date grew closer, Emma and I found ourselves in increasingly couple-like situations. We attended engagement parties thrown by well-meaning friends. We registered for gifts at Emma's favorite home goods store with a plan to return everything later. We took dance lessons for our first dance, laughing as we stepped on each other's toes and gradually improved. And through it all, that moment in Emma's parents' kitchen hung between us, acknowledged in small glances and lingering touches, but never directly addressed. Dr. Levine noticed the change in my demeanor during our sessions. You seem happier, she observed. More settled. I am, I admitted. Things with Emma are good. And what happens when your engagement ends? Have you two discussed that? We hadn't, not in any detail. Our original plan had been to stage a mature, mutual breakup shortly before the wedding date. Something about realizing we had different life goals, with no drama or hard feelings. But lately I'd been avoiding the topic, and I sensed Emma was too. We will. I told Dr. Levine. We just haven't gotten there yet. Alex, Doctor, Levine said gently, I think you know what's happening here. The lines between your pretend relationship and your real feelings are blurring. If you don't address it soon, someone is going to get hurt. I knew she was right. But addressing it meant risking what Emma and I had built together. This comfortable, intimate friendship that had become the most important relationship in my life. The issue came to a head in February, 2 months before our scheduled wedding. We were at Emma's apartment, finalizing the seating chart for a reception that would never happen, when her phone buzzed with a text. She glanced at it, then quickly set it face down on the table. "Everything okay?" I asked, noticing the flush that had risen to her cheeks. "Fine," she said too quickly. "Just work stuff." I nodded, but something about her reaction felt off. As she excused herself to use the bathroom, her phone buzzed again. I didn't mean to look. I swear I didn't. But the notification preview was visible on her screen. "Looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow night. Last week was fun." The text was from someone named David, and my stomach dropped. Was Emma seeing someone? We'd never explicitly discussed dating other people during our fake engagement. It had seemed like an obvious impossibility given how much time we spent maintaining our cover. When Emma returned, I tried to act normal, but my mind was racing. Who was David? What had they done last week that was fun? And why had Emma kept it from me? "Alex, are you listening?" Emma was looking at me expectantly. "Sorry, what?" "I asked if you think we should put your cousin Rachel at table 7 or 8. "Either is fine," I said distractedly. "Emma, can I ask you something?" "Of course." I hesitated, not sure how to phrase it without sounding accusatory or worse, jealous. "Are you seeing someone?" Emma's expression froze. "Why would you ask that?" "I saw a text on your phone," I admitted. "From someone named David. I wasn't snooping, I swear, it just popped up." Emma was quiet for a long moment. "David is my ex-boyfriend's best friend," she finally said. "We ran into each other at a coffee shop last week and got talking. He asked me to grab a drink." "Oh." I tried to process this information. "And did you grab a drink with him?" "Yes." Emma met my eyes directly. "And he asked me to dinner tomorrow." "Are you going to go?" "I'm considering it." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "I see." Emma sighed, pushing the seating chart away. "Alex, we need to talk about what's happening here." "What do you mean?" I asked, even though I knew exactly what she meant. "This Sri harem," Emma gestured between us. "Us. This fake engagement that's become our entire lives. Don't you think it's getting complicated?" "In what way?" I was stalling, afraid of where this conversation might lead. "In every way." Emma's voice rose slightly. "We spend all our free time together. We've met each other's families. We're planning a wedding, for God's sake. But none of it is real, Alex. It's all pretend." The words stung more than they should have. "I know that," I said stiffly. "It was always pretend. That was the deal. Then you shouldn't care if I have dinner with David." "I don't care," I lied. "I was just surprised, that's all." Emma studied my face. "Doctor wants you to know one, one. Levine has been warning you about this, hasn't she? About boundaries getting blurred?" I was startled that she'd put it together. "How did you know?" "Because my therapist has been saying the same thing." Emma twisted her engagement ring, my ring, on her finger. "She thinks this whole situation is unhealthy. Is that what you think too?" Emma was quiet for a moment. I think we need to be honest about what we're doing here and why. We're executing a plan," I said automatically, "to prove to Sarah that I'm not going to be alone forever." "Is that still what this is about? Sarah?" Emma's voice was soft. "Because it's been months since you've even mentioned her name." She was right. Sarah, who had once occupied every corner of my mind, had faded to a peripheral figure in my life. I couldn't remember the last time I'd checked her social media or wondered what she was thinking. "No," I admitted. "It's not about Sarah anymore." "Then what is it about, Alex?" The question hung in the air between us, demanding an answer I wasn't sure I was brave enough to give. "I don't know," I said finally. "I just know I like being with you. I like our life together, even if it's built on a lie." Emma's expression softened. "I like being with you too. That's what makes this so confusing." "Then why go out with David?" "Because I need to know if what I'm feeling is real or if it's just, situational. We've created this intense, intimate bubble, Alex. We've been playing house for months. Of course we've developed feelings. But are they real feelings or just products of our circumstances?" Her words made a painful kind of sense. We'd constructed a false reality so convincing that we'd both been pulled into it, unable to distinguish between the performance and our authentic emotions. "So what do we do?" I asked, suddenly feeling very tired. "I think," Emma took a deep breath, "I think I should go on that date with David. And I think you should take some time to figure out what you really want. Not what you want to prove to Sarah, not what fits our revenge narrative, but what you, Alex, actually want for your life. And what about? I gestured vaguely at the wedding planning materials spread across her dining table. We stick to the plan for now. 3 weeks before the wedding, we announce we've decided to postpone. A month later, we call it off entirely. Amicable, mutual, no dramatic story. It was sensible, practical, everything Emma always was. And it made me inexplicably sad. Okay, I agreed quietly. If that's what you think is best. Emma reached across the table and took my hand. I care about you, Alex. More than I expected to when we started this. I just need to make sure it's real before anything else happens. I squeezed her hand, trying to ignore the ache in my chest. I understand. The next night, as I sat alone in my apartment knowing Emma was at dinner with David, I tried to follow her advice. What did I want? Not what did I want to prove to Sarah, not what did I want other people to think of me, but what did I, Alex, truly want? The answer came to me with startling clarity. I wanted Emma. Not the performance we'd been putting on, not the perfect fiancé, role she played so convincingly, but Emma herself. Brilliant, funny, compassionate Emma, who had seen me at my most pathetic and still looked at me like I mattered. I wanted her quick wit and her thoughtfulness. I wanted her sarcastic commentary during bad movies and her childlike excitement about fresh snow. I wanted her quiet determination and her occasional stubbornness. I wanted all of her, real and unfiltered. But did she want me to? Or was I just a project to her, a broken man she'd helped to put back together? I couldn't sleep that night, wondering how her date had gone, wondering if she was finally experiencing the real connection that our fake relationship might have been preventing. The next morning, I had a text waiting from Emma. Can we talk? In person? My heart raced as I replied, of course. When? I'll be at your place in an hour. The 60 minutes that followed were the longest of my life. I showered, cleaned my apartment, changed my shirt twice, all while trying not to jump to conclusions about what Emma wanted to discuss. When the doorbell finally rang, I took a deep breath and opened it to find Emma standing there, looking tired but determined. Hi, she said. Hi. Come in. She stepped inside, declining my offer of coffee or tea. We sat on my couch, a careful distance between us. So, I began awkwardly, how was your date? It was fine, Emma said. David is nice, smart, funny in a rehearsed sort of way. That's good. It was fine, she repeated. But the whole time I kept thinking, what? I prompted when she trailed off. Emma looked at me directly. I kept thinking I'd rather be with you, planning our fake wedding or watching bad TV or just existing in the same space. My heart stuttered. Really? Really? Emma twisted her hands in her lap, the engagement ring noticeably absent. And that terrifies me, Alex, because I don't know if what I'm feeling is real or if it's just the result of 6 months playing this role. I've been thinking about that too, I admitted. A lot. And I think it doesn't matter how it started. What matters is what it's become. Emma looked at me questioningly. When we started this, I continued gathering my courage. It was about revenge, about proving Sarah wrong. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being about her at all. It became about us, you and me, building something together. But we built a fantasy, Alex, a performance for other people. Did we? I moved closer to her on the couch. Because most of my favorite moments with you weren't for show. They were private, just us being ourselves. Emma's expression softened. Like what? Like the night you taught me to make dumplings from scratch in my kitchen, and we got flour everywhere. Or when we stayed up until 3 a.m. finishing that ridiculous puzzle of the night sky. Or all those Sunday mornings reading together, not saying a word for hours, but somehow still communicating. Emma was quiet, her eyes never leaving mine. None of that was for Sarah's benefit. I continued. None of that was part of our revenge plot. It was just us. But how do we know if what we're feeling is real? Emma's voice was barely above a whisper. How do we separate the truth from the performance? I took her hand in mine. Maybe we stop performing. No more fake engagement, no more elaborate revenge plan. Just you and me seeing where this goes. What about the wedding? Our families, our friends, we tell them the truth. Or part of it anyway. That we rushed into an engagement and realized we need to take a step back. That we care about each other too much to get it wrong. Emma was quiet for a long moment, considering. It would be embarrassing, she finally said. After all this buildup, more embarrassing than going through with a fake wedding? A smile tugged at the corner of her mouth. Good point taken. So what do you think? I asked, my heart in my throat. Are you willing to try the real thing? No scripts, no master plan. Just us. Emma looked at me, her eyes clear and direct. I'd like that, but I have one condition. Name it. We take it slow. Really slow. No engagement, real or fake. We date like normal people. We give ourselves time to figure out what's real. Relief and joy wash through me. I can do slow, and we still invite Sarah to whatever this turns into, Emma added with a mischievous smile. Eventually, because I'm still a little petty, and I really want to see her face when she realizes you'll never be alone again. I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in months. Deal. I leaned forward and kissed her then. Our second real kiss, but the first one without any pretense or confusion behind it. It was tentative at first, then deepening as Emma responded, her hands coming up to frame my face. When we finally pulled apart, Emma was smiling. That definitely felt real. Very real, I agreed. So should I take you to dinner tonight? A proper first date? Actually, Emma said, I'd rather stay in. Just us, no audience, no performance. Let's cook something together and talk about everything. Everything? All the things we never said because we were too busy pretending. She squeezed my hand. I want to know the real Alex, not just the parts you've shown me. I want that too, I said honestly. The real us, whatever that turns out to be. Even if it means telling Sarah the truth someday? Emma asked, a hint of worry in her voice. I considered this. Eventually maybe. But not because I care what she thinks anymore. Only because I don't want any more lies between us and the life we're building. Emma nodded, satisfied. Then let's start now. No more lies, no more pretending. Just us figuring it out together. As Emma snuggled into my side on the couch, her head resting comfortably on my shoulder, I thought about how far we'd come from that first night at the work party, both of us nursing broken hearts and wounded pride. Sarah had been wrong. I wouldn't be alone forever. But not because of an elaborate revenge scheme or a fake wedding designed to prove her wrong. I wouldn't be alone because I'd found someone real, someone who saw me at my worst and still chose to stay. The revenge story I'd set out to write had transformed into something else entirely. Not an ending, but a beginning. Not a conclusion, but an opening chapter. And as Emma and I sat together, talking about what came next, I couldn't help but think that sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. Sometimes it's about getting free. Free to build something true, something lasting, something real. Telling everyone was easier said than done. We decided to start with our closest friends, the ones who'd been most involved in our engagement. James from work was first, over beers at our favorite bar. So let me get this straight, he said, his expression fluctuating between amusement and disbelief. You two faked an entire engagement, complete with a ring, wedding planning, and family introductions. All to get back at your ex? When he put it that way, it sounded ridiculous. Emma and I exchanged glances. Yes, I admitted. It was my idea initially. Emma just helped. Helped? Emma raised an eyebrow. I was the architect of this whole operation. You would have fallen apart without my strategic planning. James burst out laughing. I don't know whether to be impressed or concerned for your mental health. Both, probably. He took a long sip of his beer. So are you actually together now, or was that a lie too? I looked at Emma, not sure how to define what we were. Dating, Emma supplied firmly. For real this time? Well, thank God for that, James said, because you two are clearly perfect for each other. Only a pair of equally deranged people could concoct and execute a scheme like this. We told Dr. Levine next, separately in our individual sessions. Her reaction was less amused than James's. This is exactly the kind of boundary confusion I was concerned about. She told me, her expression serious. But I'm glad you've recognized the reality of your feelings and are attempting to build something authentic. So you think it can work? After starting with such a complicated foundation? Dr. Levine considered this. Relationships have been built on stranger beginnings. The important thing is honesty moving forward. Complete honesty, Alex, not just with Emma, but with yourself about what you want and need. Telling our families was harder. We decided to do it in person, starting with Emma's parents since they live closer. We drove to Connecticut on a Saturday in early March. My stomach in knots the entire journey. They're going to hate me, I predicted gloomily, echoing my concerns from our Christmas visit. They're going to think I corrupted their daughter. They already love you, Emma reminded me. That part wasn't fake. Mr. and Mrs. Chen took the news with surprising grace. There was confusion, certainly, and Mrs. Chen couldn't quite hide her disappointment about the canceled wedding, but they seemed more concerned with our well-being than the deception itself. So you're still together, Mrs. Chen clarified, looking between us. Just not engaged. Yes, Emma confirmed, reaching for my hand. We're dating. Properly this time. Mr. Chen shook his head, but I could see the hint of a smile behind his stern expression. I always thought you two moved suspiciously fast. This makes more sense. We're sorry for lying to you, I said sincerely, especially about something so important. Well, Mrs. Chen sighed. At least you came clean before sending out wedding invitations. Emma and I exchanged guilty glances. You didn't, Mrs. Chen gasped. They're addressed but not mailed, Emma admitted. We were going to send them next week. Mr. Chen burst out laughing, the tension in the room breaking. You two certainly don't do anything halfway, do you? My mother was a different story. I broke the news to her over the phone, unable to make the trip to Florida, where she'd moved after my father died. There was a long silence after my confession. Mom, are you still there? I'm trying to process this, Alex, she said finally. You lied to me about getting married. That's a lot to take in. I know, and I'm so sorry. I got caught up in this crazy plan, and then it took on a life of its own. And before I knew it, I was introducing Emma to you as my fiancée. But you care about her? For real? Yes, I said without hesitation. I love her, Mom. It was the first time I'd said those words out loud, though I'd been feeling them for weeks. There was another silence on the line. Well, my mother said eventually, I suppose I should be grateful you're not still hung up on Sarah. That girl was never right for you. I laughed in relief. No, she wasn't. And Emma is? I thought about Emma. Brilliant, maddening, wonderful Emma who had seen me at my absolute worst and stayed anyway. Yes, she is. Then I'm happy for you, sweetheart, even if your methods were unorthodox. That's one way to put it. Just promise me one thing, my mother added. When you do decide to get married, for real this time, don't elope. I want to be there. I promise, I said, though the thought of proposing again for real made my palms sweat. We were taking things slow, as agreed. Marriage was a conversation for much, much later. Once our families knew the truth, we had to address the wider audience. Our friends, colleagues, and social media followers who'd been invested in our engagement story. After much deliberation, we decided on a simple, honest approach, or at least as honest as we could be without revealing the full extent of our deception. Emma crafted a thoughtful Instagram post that we both shared. After much reflection and many heartfelt conversations, Alex and I have decided to take a step back from our engagement. We care deeply for each other and will continue our relationship, but we've realized we rushed into an engagement before we were ready. We're grateful for everyone's support and understanding as we navigate this change. Sometimes the bravest thing is to admit when you've moved too fast, and we're committed to building our relationship on the right foundation. Thank you for respecting our privacy during this transition. The response was overwhelmingly supportive. Friends and family commented with messages of understanding and encouragement. A few people admitted they thought we moved too quickly, but hadn't wanted to say anything. Only a handful expressed disappointment or tried to change our minds. And then there was Sarah's response, a private message to me that appeared hours after our announcement. I saw your post. Are you okay? If you need someone to talk to, I showed the message to Emma, who rolled her eyes. Classic Sarah. The moment she thinks you're vulnerable, she swoops in. Should I respond? Emma considered this. Yes, but keep it brief and positive. Let her know you're actually doing great. I crafted a simple reply. Thanks for checking in. I'm doing really well. Emma and I are still together and very happy, just taking things at a more reasonable pace. Sarah's response was almost immediate. That's good to hear. Still friends? Would love to catch up sometime. Wow, Emma said, reading over my shoulder. She's not even trying to be subtle, is she? What do you think she wants? I asked. She wants to know you're still an option, Emma said bluntly. She has Michael, but she wants to keep you on the back burner, just in case. That's cynical. That's Sarah, Emma countered. From everything you've told me about her, she likes having backup plans. I couldn't argue with that. It had been a recurring issue in our relationship. Sarah's reluctance to fully commit, her habit of keeping other men in her orbit as just friends, who were clearly interested in more. So what do I say? Nothing right now, Emma advised. Let her wonder. If she reaches out again, then we'll decide. With our social circle informed and the wedding officially postponed, code for canceled, though we hadn't announced that part yet, Emma and I found ourselves in an unexpected situation. Actually dating for the first time after 6 months of pretending to be engaged. This is weird, Emma observed as we sat across from each other at a nice restaurant the following weekend. I know everything about you, your morning routine, your food preferences, your sleep habits, but we've never been on a real date. We've been to restaurants together dozens of times. I pointed out, yes, but always as a fake engaged couple. This is different. This is a real first date. She was right. There was a strange tension between us that hadn't been there before. The nervous energy of two people starting something new, complicated by the fact that we already knew each other intimately in many ways. So, I said, adopting an exaggerated formal tone, tell me about yourself, Emma. What do you do for work? She laughed, playing along. I'm a graphic designer. I'm passionate about typography and get unreasonably angry about bad kerning. Fascinating. Any hobbies? I enjoy pretending to be engaged to emotionally damaged men as an elaborate revenge scheme against their exes. She deadpanned. It's quite niche, but fulfilling. I nearly choked on my water, laughing. You're terrible. You love it. She shot back, then froze slightly at her choice of words. There it was, the L word, hanging in the air between us. I'd said it to my mother about Emma, but not yet to Emma herself. It felt too soon, too fragile, even though we'd been in each other's lives intensely for months. I do, I said softly, not quite an admission of love, but an acknowledgement of how much I enjoyed her particular brand of humor, her sharp mind, her unflinching honesty. The moment passed and we fell into easier conversation. By dessert, the initial awkwardness had faded, replaced by the comfortable familiarity we'd built over our months together, but with a new undercurrent of authentic emotion that made every interaction feel more significant. As we walked back to my apartment, Emma had unofficially moved most of her things in during our engagement, but had recently started spending more time at her own place to give us space. She took my hand. This is nice, she said. Dating you for real. Better than fake dating me? Different, she decided. Less stressful in some ways. More in others. More stressful? Why? She was quiet for a moment. Because it matters more. When we were faking it, the stakes were lower. If it didn't work out, we could just chalk it up to the end of our arrangement. Now it would be a real breakup. I finished for her, with real feelings involved. Exactly. She squeezed my hand. It's scarier. For me too, I admitted. But worth it, I think. When we reached my building, Emma hesitated. I should probably go home tonight. Oh, I couldn't hide my disappointment. Right. Taking it slow. Very slow, she confirmed with a small smile. I want to do this right, Alex. I want to give us the proper beginning we never had. I nodded, respecting her decision even as I missed her already. Can I at least kiss you goodnight? Or is that too fast? In answer, Emma rose on her tiptoes and pressed her lips to mine. Unlike our previous kisses, which had been tentative or caught up in the confusion of our situation, this one was deliberate, certain. A real kiss between two people choosing each other, eyes wide open. Good night, Alex, she whispered when we finally broke apart. Call me tomorrow? I will, I promised, watching her walk to her car, already counting the hours until I could see her again. The next few weeks were a strange mix of familiar and new. We maintained our taking it slow approach, spending some nights apart, going on proper dates, and rediscovering each other outside the context of our elaborate charade. We didn't hide our relationship at work, but we were more discreet than we had been during our fake engagement. No more public displays of affection in the break room or lingering touches during meetings. People keep asking me if we're okay. Emma told me one evening, as we cooked dinner together at my place, they seem more worried now that we're actually dating than they were when we were fake engaged. What do you tell them? The truth, that we're better than okay. She handed me a chopped onion for the pasta sauce. Though Melissa from HR gave me the name of her therapist, just in case. I laughed. At least they care. They do, Emma agreed. Though I think some of them are disappointed. People love drama. We gave them plenty of that. And now we're just a boring, normal couple. I wrapped my arms around her from behind as she stirred the sauce. Is that what we are? A couple? She leaned back into me. Isn't it? I'd like that, I said, pressing a kiss to her neck. Being officially your boyfriend. So formal. She teased. Do we need to change our Facebook status? Absolutely. It's not real until it's on social media. Emma laughed, turning in my arms to face me. Alex Nielsen, will you be my boyfriend? For real this time, no schemes or revenge plots, just us. Yes, I said solemnly. I will be your boyfriend. For real. We sealed the deal with a kiss that quickly deepened, the pasta sauce forgotten until the smell of burning tomatoes broke us apart. Shit, Emma laughed, rushing to save our dinner. Look what you made me do. Me? You're the one who asked me to be your boyfriend in the middle of cooking. And you're the one who kissed me like that. Very distracting. We ended up ordering pizza, sitting on my living room floor with wine and easy conversation. And I found myself thinking that this simple, honest moment was better than any elaborate revenge fantasy I could have concocted. March turned to April, and with it came the date that would have been our wedding day. April 20th, a perfect Saturday for a garden wedding, as Emma had said when we booked the venue. I woke that morning with a strange heaviness in my chest, unsure how to feel about the day that should have been, but wasn't going to be. Emma had stayed over the night before, but her side of the bed was empty. I found her in the kitchen making coffee, dressed in one of my t-shirts and athletic shorts. Morning, she said, handing me a mug. I was going to bring this to you in bed. Thanks. I took a sip, studying her face. Do you know what today is? Saturday? April 20th. Recognition dawned in her eyes. Oh, the wedding. The wedding that wasn't. Emma leaned against the counter, her expression thoughtful. How do you feel about that? I considered the question seriously. Relieved, mostly. We would have been making a huge mistake, going through with a fake wedding. Definitely, Emma agreed. Though I did love that venue. The Botanical Gardens? It was beautiful. And my dress, Emma added with a sigh. I never told you, but I actually bought one. It was on sale, and I thought, well, I just couldn't resist. You bought a wedding dress for our fake wedding? I was surprised. Emma had always been the practical one, the one who kept our scheme from going too far. She looked embarrassed. I know, it was stupid. I got caught up in it all. It's still in my closet, tags attached. I should return it. Can I see it? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Emma raised an eyebrow. Isn't it bad luck for the groom to see the bride's dress before the wedding? Well, since there's no wedding, and I'm not a groom, and you're not a bride, I shrugged. No harm, right? Emma studied me for a moment, then nodded. Okay, but not today. It feels too weird on what would have been our wedding day. I understood completely. So what should we do today instead? Something completely different, Emma decided. Something that has nothing to do with weddings or engagements or any of it. Let's go hiking. Get out of the city, clear our heads. It was a perfect suggestion. We spent the day in a state park an hour outside the city, climbing hills, crossing streams, and talking about everything and nothing. By the time we returned to the car, sweaty and tired but refreshed, the heaviness I'd felt that morning had lifted. Thank you for today, I told Emma as we drove back to the city, the setting sun painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. It was exactly what I needed. Me too, she said, her hand finding mine across the center console. New memories for April 20th. Better ones. When we arrived back at my apartment, Emma went to shower while I ordered dinner. As I was browsing takeout options on my phone, a text came through from Sarah. Thinking of you today. Wasn't this supposed to be your wedding day? Hope you're doing okay. My immediate reaction was surprise. Surprised that she remembered the date. Surprised that she was reaching out. Surprised that I felt so little at seeing her name on my screen. Who is it? Emma asked, emerging from the bathroom in fresh clothes, toweling her hair dry. Sarah, I said, showing her the message. She remembered our wedding date. Emma's expression darkened slightly. Of course she did. She's been waiting for this day. What do you mean? Think about it, Alex. From her perspective, our engagement falling apart proves she was right. That you're not ready for commitment. That maybe you will end up alone. Emma's voice was matter-of-fact, not accusatory. She's checking in to see if you're vulnerable. I considered this. 6 months ago, the thought of Sarah believing I was alone and miserable would have devastated me. Now it just seems sad. Sad that she might take pleasure in my imagined pain. Sad that she didn't know how happy I actually was. Should I respond? I asked, genuinely curious about Emma's opinion. She shrugged. That's up to you. What do you want to say? I thought about it, then typed, thanks for checking in. Today was great, actually. Emma and I went hiking instead. Hope you're well. I showed it to Emma before sending. What do you think? Not too much? Not enough? It's perfect, she said with a smile. Casual, positive, and it makes it clear we're still together. I sent the message, then put my phone away, determined not to check for Sarah's response. Whatever she replied, it didn't matter anymore. My happiness didn't depend on her reaction. You know, Emma said as we settled on the couch with our takeout, we never did formally cancel the wedding. We just postponed it indefinitely. You're right. I realized, should we make an announcement? Probably. Some people might still be holding the date, even after our taking a step back post. We drafted a simple message that we both shared on social media the next day, officially canceling the wedding, but reaffirming that we were still together and happy. The last line read, "Thank you all for your support as we build our relationship in a way that feels right for us." To my surprise, Sarah commented on my post, a simple heart emoji visible to all our mutual friends. Emma spotted it immediately. Interesting tactic, she observed. Very public display of support. What do you think it means? It means she wants everyone to see how mature and evolved she is. Emma's tone was analytical rather than jealous. She's playing the role of the supportive ex, making sure everyone knows she's still in your life. You're scary good at reading people, you know that? Emma grinned. It's a gift, and I've spent the last 7 months analyzing your ex's every move. I practically have a PhD in psychology. I laughed, pulling her closer on the couch. Well, Dr. Chen, what's your professional assessment of me? Am I still hung up on my ex, Hugh? Emma pretended to study me critically. The patient shows all signs of having moved on completely. He no longer checks his ex's social media obsessively, doesn't mention her name unless prompted, and appears to be disgustingly happy with his current girlfriend. Disgustingly happy, huh? The worst kind, Emma confirmed solemnly. Absolutely nauseating to outside observers. Good, I said, kissing her softly. That's exactly what I want to be. As spring turned to summer, Emma and I settled into a comfortable routine. We maintained separate apartments but spent most nights together, usually at my place because it was closer to work. We took turns cooking dinner, bickered over movie choices, and gradually integrated our lives in the natural way of a real couple. The strangest part was realizing how many aspects of our relationship hadn't changed at all. The easy companionship, the inside jokes, the way we could sit in comfortable silence for hours, those had been real all along, even when the relationship itself was fake. Do you ever wonder? I asked Emma one lazy Sunday morning as we lingered over coffee in bed. What would have happened if we just dated normally from the beginning? No fake engagement, no revenge plot, just us? Emma considered this. I don't think we would have gotten together at all. Really? Why not? You were too hung up on Sarah, she said simply, and I was still raw from my breakup with David. Neither of us was looking for anything real, but we found it anyway, I mused. Through the fakest possible scenario. Life is weird that way. Emma rested her head on my shoulder. Sometimes you have to pretend to be something before you can become it for real. In July, 4 months after we'd postponed our wedding and started actually dating, we faced our first real test as a couple. Emma was offered a dream opportunity, a 3-month contract with a prestigious design firm in Chicago. It would mean living apart, at least during the week, with Emma flying back to New York on weekends when possible. You have to take it. I told her immediately when she shared the news. It's an amazing opportunity. But we just found our rhythm, Emma said, doubt clouding her features. Long distance is hard, even temporarily. We'll make it work. I insisted. We can video chat every night, and I can come visit some weekends too. You'd be okay with that? Of course. I took her hands in mine. Emma, I want you to have everything you've ever dreamed of, including this job. We'll figure out the rest. The relief and love in her eyes made any potential hardship worth it. Thank you, she said softly, for supporting me. Always. I promised and meant it. Emma left for Chicago in August. The first few weeks were harder than I'd anticipated. My apartment, which had felt so comfortable with her in it, now seemed empty and quiet. Our nightly video calls were the highlight of my day, but they also highlighted the physical distance between us. I missed her touch, her smell, the warmth of her body next to mine at night. This sucks, I told her bluntly during one call, 3 weeks into her Chicago stint. I miss you. I miss you too, she admitted. More than I expected to. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Good, she said without hesitation. It means this is real, Alex. What we have, it's not just convenience or proximity. It's real. Her words warmed me, easing some of the loneliness. How's the project going? Amazing, she said, her face lighting up as she described the campaign she was working on. Her passion was infectious, and I found myself smiling despite my melancholy. I'm so proud of you, I told her when she finished. You're going to absolutely kill this project. Thank you for encouraging me to take it, she said softly. Not everyone would have been so supportive. Not everyone knows how brilliant you are. Emma's Chicago project extended into fall, but we managed to maintain our connection through daily calls, weekend visits, and the occasional surprise, like the time I had her favorite pizza from New York delivered to her Chicago apartment, or when she sent me a package of handwritten notes, one to open each day until we next saw each other. By the time she returned to New York in November, our relationship had deepened in a way that might not have happened without the separation. We'd been forced to communicate more explicitly, to express feelings that might otherwise have remained unspoken, to plan our time together with intention. I think being apart was good for us. Emma observed as we lay in bed her first night back, her head on my chest, my arms wrapped tightly around her. It forced us to build a real foundation. I could have done without the loneliness, I admitted. But I know what you mean. We had to choose each other every day actively. There was no autopilot. Exactly. She propped herself up to look at me. And we did choose each other every day. Every single day, I confirmed, pulling her down for a kiss that conveyed everything words couldn't. As December approached, bringing with it the holiday season, a familiar anxiety began to stir in my chest. Last Christmas, Emma and I had visited her parents as a fake engaged couple. This year we were a real couple, but we still carried the weight of our previous deception. Do you think your parents are still upset with us? I asked Emma as we decorated a small Christmas tree in my apartment. About the engagement lie? They were never upset, just confused. Emma reassured me. And they adore you. My mother asks about you in every phone call. Really? But Emma, what does she ask? If you're treating me well, if you've taken me on any nice dates lately, if we're happy. Emma handed me a sparkly ornament. I always tell her yes, yes, and very much yes. Relief washed through me. So they wouldn't mind if we spent Christmas with them again this year. They'd be thrilled. Emma paused in her decorating. Is that what you want to do? If you do, I thought it might be nice to establish our own traditions. Real ones this time. Emma's smile was radiant. I'd love that. Christmas with the Chens was warm and authentic in a way it hadn't been the previous year, when we'd been performing roles rather than simply being ourselves. There was an ease to our interactions, a genuine affection that didn't need to be manufactured or amplified for an audience. On Christmas Eve, as we sat around the fire after dinner, Mr. Chen raised his glass in a toast. To Alex and Emma, for finding your way to each other, even if the path was unconventional. To Alex and Emma, Mrs. Chen echoed, her eyes twinkling. May your relationship always be as real as it is now. I caught Emma's eye across the room, and the love I saw there made my heart swell. Later that night, as we lay in the guest bedroom that had once hosted our first fake holiday together, I gathered my courage. I love you, Emma, I whispered into the darkness. I'm in love with you. There was a moment of silence, and then Emma's hand found mine under the covers. I love you too, Alex. I have for a while now. How long? I couldn't help asking. I'm not sure, she admitted. It happened gradually and then all at once. Somewhere between planning our fake wedding and missing you every day in Chicago. For me, it was the night you helped me tell Kevin about our engagement, I said. The way you handled that surprise champagne toast, how naturally you fit into my life, how you made everything better just by being there. I think I fell in love with you that night, even if I didn't recognize it then. Emma rolled closer, her body warm against mine. We're a strange story, aren't we? Not exactly conventional. Not conventional at all, I agreed. But it's our story, and I wouldn't change it. Not even the fake engagement part? I considered this. No, not even that. Without it, we might never have found our way here. Emma's kiss was soft and perfect in the darkness. Merry Christmas, Alex. Merry Christmas, Emma. I love you. I love you too. She snuggled closer. For real. As the new year began, bringing with it fresh starts and new possibilities, Emma and I found ourselves at a crossroads. Her lease was ending in February, and we needed to decide whether to officially move in together or renew her lease. It seems silly to maintain 2 apartments when we spend every night together anyway. Emma reasoned as we discussed it over dinner. But I don't want to rush things. I laughed. Emma, we were engaged 3 months after meeting. I think that ship has sailed. That was fake, she pointed out. This is real. Different rules apply. What does your heart tell you? I asked, reaching for her hand across the table. That I want to live with you, she admitted. But my brain is being cautious. Tell your brain that we've essentially been living together for most of the past year anyway. We already know each other's annoying habits. True, Emma conceded. You never replace the toilet paper roll, and I leave half-empty coffee cups all over the apartment. See? No surprises. We're practically an old married couple already. The words were out before I realized what I'd said. An awkward silence fell between us. Not that I'm suggesting. I wasn't implying. I stammered. Emma's expression was unreadable. It's okay, Alex. I know what you meant. But the moment had created a tension that lingered through the rest of dinner and into the next day. The mention of marriage, even casually, had clearly touched a nerve for both of us. After our elaborate fake engagement, the real thing felt both too soon and somehow overdue. We shelved the conversation about moving in together, both needing time to process what it might mean for our relationship. During this limbo period, an unexpected development brought our past rushing back into focus. Sarah got engaged. I discovered it through Instagram, a perfectly composed photo of Sarah's hand with a massive diamond ring. Michael kneeling in the background, the Eiffel Tower visible in the distance. The caption read, "The easiest yes of my life. Forever starts now." The news hit me in a way I hadn't anticipated. Not jealousy or regret, but a strange sense of closure mixed with irritation at the performative nature of it all. The Eiffel Tower? Really? It was exactly the kind of grand gesture Sarah had always claimed to want. I showed the post to Emma that evening. Sarah's engaged. For real? Emma studied the photo, her expression neutral. That's quite a ring. Very. Statement piece. It's tacky, I said, surprising myself with the assessment. It doesn't even look like Sarah's style. No? Emma raised an eyebrow. No. She always said she wanted something classic and understated if we ever... I trailed off, realizing too late where that sentence was headed. Emma's face softened. It's okay to have feelings about this, Alex. She was a big part of your life. I'm not upset, I clarified quickly. I'm just processing. Of course, Emma squeezed my hand. For what it's worth, I think the ring is hideous and the proposal looks staged for social media. I laughed, grateful for her honest assessment. It does, doesn't it? Very on brand for Michael, though. He's all about the grand gesture. Are you going to congratulate her? I considered this. Should I? That's up to you. Emma's tone was carefully neutral. What do you want to do? After thinking about it, I decided a brief friendly acknowledgement was appropriate. I commented on Sarah's post. Congratulations to you both. Wishing you happiness. Simple, sincere, and completely devoid of any hidden meaning or subtext. It felt good to be able to wish her well without any ulterior motive. Sarah responded almost immediately with a private message. Thank you, Alex. That means a lot coming from you. Would love to catch up sometime, maybe coffee next week. So much to tell you. I showed the message to Emma, who rolled her eyes. Seriously? She gets engaged and immediately wants to catch up with her ex? Maybe she just wants to clear the air. We did have a complicated ending. Or maybe she wants to make sure you're properly jealous of her perfect Parisian proposal, Emma suggested dryly. Have coffee with her if you want, but be prepared for it to be all about her. I considered declining, but curiosity got the better of me. I think I will meet her. For closure, if nothing else. Closure, Emma repeated, a hint of skepticism in her voice. Okay, just remember who you're coming home to afterward. Always, I promised, pulling her close. You're the only woman I want, Emma. Sarah's engagement doesn't change that. I know, she said, but I could sense her uncertainty. After all our history with Sarah, the hurt she'd caused me, the revenge plot she'd inspired, the lie Emma and I had constructed around her, this new development added yet another complicated layer. I met Sarah at a cafe near my office the following Tuesday. She was already there when I arrived, looking polished and put together as always, her new engagement ring prominently displayed on the table next to her latte. Alex, she smiled, standing to greet me with a hug that I returned awkwardly. So good to see you. You too, I said, taking the seat across from her. Congratulations on your engagement. The proposal looked amazing. It was, she gushed, completely unexpected. We were just in Paris for a long weekend, and on our last night, he took me to the Eiffel Tower at sunset. I had no idea he was planning to propose. Her version of events contradicted the perfectly composed Instagram photo, which looked anything but spontaneous. But I just nodded politely. The ring is beautiful. I lied. Very eye-catching. Thank you. Sarah twisted it on her finger. Michael designed it himself. He knows I've always wanted something unique. I bit back a comment about her previously expressed preference for classic simplicity. It didn't matter now. So how are you? She asked, her expression turning serious. After everything with Emma. The wedding that wasn't... I'm great, actually, I said honestly. Emma and I are still together and very happy. The engagement was too soon, but our relationship has never been stronger. Sarah's smile flickered slightly. Oh, I wasn't sure if you were still... The way you phrased that social media post made it sound like you'd broken up. No, we're definitely together. In fact, we're talking about moving in together officially. That's wonderful, Sarah said, though her tone suggested otherwise. I'm happy for you. Thank you. I took a sip of my coffee. So wedding plans? Have you set a date? Sarah launched into an elaborate description of her vision for an extravagant destination wedding in the south of France. As she talked, I found myself studying her. This woman who had once been the center of my world, whose opinion of me had mattered so much that I'd constructed an entire false engagement to prove her wrong. She was still beautiful, still charismatic, still Sarah, but the power she'd once held over me was gone. I felt nothing beyond a mild curiosity and the lingering fondness you might feel for someone who was once important in your life. And of course, we'd love for you to come, Sarah was saying, pulling me back to the conversation. You and Emma both, if you're still together then. The wedding's not until next summer. That's generous of you, I said carefully. We'd have to check our schedules when the time comes. Sarah leaned forward slightly. I know it might be awkward, given our history, but it would mean a lot to me to have you there. You were such an important part of my life, Alex. I recognized the look in her eyes. The one she used when she wanted something from me. A mixture of vulnerability and intense focus that had once made me feel special. Chosen. I'll talk to Emma about it, I said noncommittally. It's a joint decision. Of course. Sarah sat back, a slight frown creasing her forehead. How is she, by the way? Still designing? She is. She just finished a major project in Chicago that was incredibly successful. She's being courted by some of the top firms in the city now. That's great, Sarah said with what seemed like genuine enthusiasm. She always struck me as very career-focused. There was a subtle criticism hidden in the praise, one I might not have caught a year ago. The implication that Emma prioritized her career over relationships, that she wasn't fully committed to us. She is incredible at what she does, I agreed. And she's amazingly supportive of my career too. We're a good team. I'm glad, Sarah said, though her expression suggested otherwise. So no plans to get re-engaged? After taking this time to reevaluate, we're focusing on building our relationship, not rushing into anything, I said, deliberately vague. Smart, Sarah nodded. After all, you don't want to end up alone if things don't work out. Taking it slow is prudent. You'll be alone forever. Her cruel parting words from a year ago echoed in my mind, and suddenly I understood why she'd wanted to meet. She needed to know if her prediction had come true, if I was still vulnerable, still hung up on her despite my relationship with Emma. I'm not worried about ending up alone, I said calmly. Emma and I are solid. More than solid, actually. I'm in love with her. The words hung in the air between us, and I watched as Sarah processed them, her expression cycling through surprise, disbelief, and finally a forced smile. Well, that's wonderful, she managed. Love is rare. You should hold on to it when you find it. I intend to, I said simply. The rest of our coffee meeting passed in strained small talk. Sarah shared stories about her job, about Michael's latest architectural project, about their plans to buy a house in the suburbs. I listened politely, offering appropriate responses, but I could tell she was disappointed by our interaction. When we parted ways outside the cafe, Sarah hugged me again, holding on slightly too long. It was really good to see you, Alex. Don't be a stranger, okay? We should get dinner sometime. You, me, Michael, and Emma. Like a double date. I'll mention it to Emma, I said, knowing it would never happen. Take care, Sarah. And congratulations again. As I walked away, I felt lighter, as if I'd finally set down a burden I'd been carrying for too long. Sarah's engagement, her need for my approval or jealousy, her subtle digs at my relationship, none of it mattered anymore. I was free of the emotional hold she'd once had over me. When I arrived home that evening, Emma was waiting, trying to appear casual but clearly anxious about my meeting with Sarah. "How was coffee with the newly engaged?" she asked, aiming for nonchalance but missing by a mile. "Enlightening," I said, hanging up my coat. "She invited us to her wedding in France next summer." Emma raised an eyebrow. "Really? Both of us?" "Both of us," I confirmed. Though she did add, "if you're still together then," which I thought was a nice touch. "Charming," Emma deadpanned. "So, are we going to the south of France to watch your ex marry her perfect architect?" "Do you want to?" Emma considered this. "Part of me wants to go just to see what ridiculous spectacle they put on. But mostly no. I don't think we need to be there." "Agreed," I said, relieved. I told her we'd check our schedules when the time comes. A polite maybe that's actually a no. "Good answer," Emma studied my face. "So how was it seeing her? Any lingering feelings?" "None," I said honestly. It was actually clarifying. I realized she invited me to coffee because she wanted to see if I was still affected by her. If her prediction about me ending up alone was coming true. "And what did you tell her?" "That I'm in love with you. That we're solid. That I'm not worried about being alone because I have you." Emma's expression softened. "You said that to Sarah?" "I did," I confirmed. "And it felt good. Honest." Emma crossed the room and wrapped her arms around me. "I love you, Alex Nielsen." "I love you too, Emma Chen." I held her close, breathing in her familiar scent. "So much so that I have a question for you." "Oh?" She looked up at me, curious. "Will you move in with me? Officially. My place, your place, or somewhere new? I don't care. I just want us to build a home together." Emma's smile was radiant. "Yes, I'd love that." "Really? No more overthinking, no more caution?" "No more caution," she confirmed. "My lease is up in 2 weeks anyway." It's perfect timing. We sealed the decision with a kiss that felt like a beginning, the start of a new chapter in our unconventional love story. We decided to find a new place together, something that would be ours from the start rather than one of us moving into the other's established space. We spent weekends touring apartments, debating neighborhoods, and discussing our must-haves and nice-to-haves. "I need natural light," Emma insisted, "and enough space for a small home office. I want a real kitchen," I countered. "Something bigger than the closet I've been cooking in for years." We found the perfect place in early March, a 2-bedroom apartment in a pre-war building with high ceilings, hardwood floors, and windows that flooded the space with morning light. It was within our budget, close to both our offices, and had the kind of character we'd both been hoping for. "This is it," Emma declared as we walked through the space a second time. "This feels like us." I knew exactly what she meant. The apartment had a warmth to it, a sense of potential and possibility that matched our relationship. It needed some work. Fresh paint, updated fixtures, minor repairs, but it had good bones. "I can see us here." I agreed, imagining quiet mornings in the sunny kitchen, evenings curled up in the living room, weekends spent making the space our own. "Let's make an offer." Moving day arrived in April, almost exactly a year after what would have been our wedding day. The symbolism wasn't lost on either of us. 1 year ago today, we would have been saying "I do," Emma mused as we carried boxes into our new home. "And now we're moving in together for real." "Better this way," I said confidently. "The foundation is stronger." Emma paused, setting down a box of books. "Do you ever regret it?" "The fake engagement, I mean." I considered this as I unpacked a set of dishes. "No. It was crazy and probably unhealthy, but it brought us together. I can't regret that." "Me neither," Emma admitted. "Though I do regret letting you pack the kitchen items. You have no system whatsoever." "I have a system. It's called fit as many things into one box as possible." "That's not a system, that's chaos." Emma laughed, taking over the unpacking with her characteristic efficiency. We spent that first night in our new apartment on a mattress on the floor, surrounded by boxes, eating takeout, because we couldn't find the pots and pans. It was perfect in its imperfection. Real, unscripted, authentically us. "To our new home," I toasted, raising a plastic cup of champagne. "And to us, finding our way here through the strangest possible path." "To us," Emma echoed, clinking her cup against mine. The real thing at last. As spring turned to summer, Emma and I settled into our new life together. We established routines and traditions, argued over furniture placement and wall colors, and gradually transformed the apartment into a home that reflected both of us. One evening in late June, as we sat on our small balcony watching the sunset, Emma turned to me with a thoughtful expression. Do you ever hear from Sarah? The question caught me off guard. We rarely discuss Sarah these days, both of us having moved beyond that chapter of our lives. No, not since our coffee meeting back in January. Why? Emma shrugged. Just curious. Her wedding must be coming up soon, right? August, I think. I recalled. In France somewhere. Are you sorry we didn't accept the invitation? Not at all, I said honestly. I have no desire to watch Sarah marry someone else, even if I'm completely over her. Why? Are you having second thoughts? The opposite, actually, Emma admitted. I was thinking about how far we've come from that night when you first suggested the fake engagement. How different everything is now. Different in a good way, I hope. The best way. She took my hand, intertwining our fingers. We don't need grand gestures or elaborate revenge schemes. This, us, our home, our real life together, is better than anything we could have fabricated. Her words resonated deeply. You're right. The real thing is better than the fantasy ever was. We sat in comfortable silence as the sky darkened and the first stars appeared. In that moment, I knew with absolute certainty that I wanted to spend my life with Emma. Not as part of some performance or to prove something to anyone else, but because she was my person, my partner, my home. The idea that had been forming in my mind for months crystallized into a decision. Emma? She turned to look at me, her face softened by the fading light. I want to marry you someday. For real this time. Her eyes widened slightly, but she didn't look away. Someday? When we're ready. When it feels right. Not for anyone else. Not to prove anything. Just because I love you and want to build a life with you. Emma's smile was like sunrise. I want that too. Really? Really? She leaned against me, her head on my shoulder. But this time, I'm planning the wedding my way. No elaborate schemes, no revenge invitations. Just us and the people we love. Deal. I agreed, wrapping my arm around her. And a much smaller guest list. Much smaller, Emma confirmed. Though I do still want Sarah to know somehow. I laughed, kissing the top of her head. The revenge instinct never fully dies, does it? Not completely, Emma admitted with a grin. But it's evolved. I don't want her to know to hurt her or make her jealous. I want her to know because I want everyone to know I found the love of my life and that we're ridiculously, disgustingly happy together. The love of your life, huh? Without question, Emma said simply. Without question, I echoed, my heart full to bursting. 3 months later, on a crisp October morning, I asked Emma to marry me. Properly this time, with no ulterior motives or elaborate schemes. Just a simple, heartfelt proposal in our favorite spot at the Botanical Gardens, where our fake wedding would have been held 18 months earlier. Are you sure? She asked after saying yes, her eyes shining with tears of joy. No doubts, no reservations? None, I promised, sliding a ring onto her finger. Not the emerald from our fake engagement, but a simple solitaire diamond that I'd chosen because it reminded me of Emma. Brilliant, clear, and strong. This time it's completely real. No crazy revenge plans? She teased. No revenge, I confirmed. Just us building a life together. We decided on a small ceremony the following spring. Intimate, authentic, with only our closest friends and family in attendance. No elaborate social media announcements, no performative gestures for others' benefit. We did, however, make one exception to our no revenge rule. The week before our wedding, we sent a single announcement to Sarah's address. A simple card with a photo of us, radiantly happy, and the words, Emma and Alex joyfully announced their wedding, April 20th, 2025. True love finds its way even through the most unexpected paths. It wasn't meant to hurt or provoke jealousy. It was simply a period at the end of a chapter, a final acknowledgement of the journey that had brought us together. Sarah had unwittingly set us on this path with her cruel prediction. You'll be alone forever. She had been wrong. Spectacularly, wonderfully wrong. On our wedding day, our real wedding day, as Emma walked toward me in a simple white dress, not the one she'd bought for our fake wedding, but something new, chosen with love and intention, I felt a sense of completion that no revenge fantasy could ever have provided. This wasn't about proving Sarah wrong anymore. It was about Emma and me, choosing each other, building a life together based on truth and love rather than deception and revenge. We took the scenic route, didn't we? Emma whispered as we shared our first dance as husband and wife. The very scenic route, I agreed, holding her close. But we got here. Do you think Sarah got our announcement? Probably. Does it matter? Emma smiled, radiant in her happiness. Not even a little bit, and it truly didn't. The woman who had once predicted I'd be alone forever was now just a footnote in our love story. Not the villain, not the catalyst, just a character who had unknowingly led me to the person I was meant to find. As we danced under twinkling lights, surrounded by the people who truly loved us, I realized that the best revenge wasn't a fake relationship designed to inspire jealousy. The best revenge was genuine happiness, found in the most unexpected places, with the most unexpected person. Emma and I had set out to create a fantasy, a performance of love designed to prove someone wrong. What we'd found instead was something infinitely more valuable. A real love, imperfect and challenging at times, but authentic in every way that mattered. I love you, Emma Nielsen Chen. I whispered against her hair. I love you too, Alex Nielsen Chen. She replied, her arms tightening around me. For real, forever. And in that moment, with my wife in my arms and our future stretching out before us, I knew that Sarah had given me an unexpected gift with her cruel parting words. In trying to prove her wrong, I had found something real. A love strong enough to weather the strangest of beginnings. A partnership built on honesty and understanding. A future brighter than any revenge fantasy could have imagined. Sometimes I reflected as Emma and I swayed to the music. The most perfect revenge isn't getting even. It's getting happy. And we were. We truly were.